The gravy boat clinked against the ceramic plate as my Uncle Mark leaned across the Thanksgiving table, his face twisted in that familiar smirk. "Hey everyone," he announced loudly, interrupting the quiet dinner chatter. "Our delivery boy finally made it." I smiled politely, hanging my worn leather jacket on the back of my chair. 15 years of this and he still thought he was clever. The rest of the family shifted uncomfortably, some looking down at their plates, others forcing awkward laughs. "Actually, it's logistics management now," I said quietly, taking my seat at the far end of the table, where I was always placed, the service entrance as my cousins used to joke. "My name is Daniel Foster. I'm 35 years old and for the past decade and a half, my family has thought I was nothing more than a delivery driver who couldn't find a real career. What they didn't know was that I owned Quantum Logistics, one of the largest supply chain management companies in North America, with operations in 43 countries and an annual revenue that would make my uncle's salary look like pocket change. But they weren't ready for that truth. Not yet. Logistics management? Mark snorted, cutting into his turkey. Is that what they call driving a truck these days? How many packages did you deliver today, Danny boy? I took a sip of water, remembering the morning's board meeting where we'd finalized the acquisition of our biggest competitor for $2.3 billion. Just one, Uncle Mark. But it was an important one. My Aunt Patricia patted my hand with fake sympathy. "You know, I could talk to someone at Mark's company. They're always hiring for entry-level positions. You're not getting any younger, dear." Mark worked as a regional manager at Global Tech Industries, one of the largest technology manufacturers in the country. He never let anyone forget it, especially me. What he didn't know was that Global Tech had been desperately trying to secure a meeting with Quantum Sumi for the past 3 months. Their supply chain was bleeding money and they needed us to fix it. "I appreciate the offer," I said, helping myself to mashed potatoes. "But I'm happy where I am." The only person who'd ever known the truth was my grandmother Rose. She'd believed in me when I started Quantum from my garage at 20, using the inheritance she'd left me against everyone's advice. "Build something that matters," she'd said before she passed. "And let your success speak louder than their doubts." I'd followed her advice to the letter. The doorbell rang, interrupting what was surely about to be another lecture about my life choices. My cousin Emma jumped up to answer it, probably grateful for the escape. "Is this the Foster residence?" a deep voice asked from the foyer. "I'm looking for Mr. Foster." "It's urgent." Mark stood up, straightening his jacket. "I'm Mr. Foster," he said importantly. "No," the voice replied. "I'm looking for Daniel Foster." The room went quiet as James Chin, CEO of Global Tech Industries, Mark's boss's boss, stepped into our dining room. I stood slowly, wiping my mouth with a napkin. "Good evening, Mr. Chin." He looked relieved. "Mr. Foster, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. The Singapore merger is happening faster than expected. We need Quantum's infrastructure immediately." Mark's fork clattered against his plate. "Sir," he squeaked. "You know Daniel?" Chin looked confused. "Of course I know Daniel Foster. Everyone in the industry knows the founder of Quantum Logistics." He turned back to me. "Please, sir. Can we discuss the contract? Our board is waiting." The turkey wasn't the only thing that got roasted that Thanksgiving. Monday morning arrived with the weight of 15 years of silence. I stood in my corner office on the 50th floor of Quantum Tower, adjusting my Brioni suit, a far cry from the delivery uniform my family thought I wore daily. The morning headlines flashed across my screens. Quantum Logistics to acquire Global Tech's supply chain in $4.8 billion deal. Tech giant bows to delivery king. Industry's biggest merger. Daniel Foster, the silent billionaire revolutionizing global logistics. My phone had been exploding since the press release. "Mom, Daniel, please call me." The news. "I don't understand." "Mark, Danny, about today's meeting. We're family. Let's talk first." Various cousins. "Hey cuz. Remember when we used to play as kids?" Sarah entered, stunning in her executive attire. "Your uncle's here. He's been in the lobby for 2 hours. How's he looking?" "Like a man who just realized he's been mocking his boss for 15 years. She handed me a tablet. "The audit results are worse than we thought. His division has been hemorrhaging money for years. The creative accounting wasn't just inefficiency, it was deliberate." I scrolled through the numbers, feeling a heaviness in my chest. He falsified delivery data to hide system failures. 300 families lost their jobs because of his cover-up. The board's waiting. Chin looks ready for blood. I nodded, straightening my tie. Send Mark up. 5 minutes later my uncle entered. Gone was the arrogant smirk, replaced by something between terror and desperate hope. He'd clearly rushed out to buy a new suit. The price tag was still visible on the sleeve. Danny, he started, then corrected himself. Mr. Foster. If I could explain. Sit. He sat. Do you remember Grandma Rose's funeral? I asked quietly. He blinked at the unexpected question. What? When I tried to tell your children about their grandmother's investment in quantum. You said I was making up stories to seem important. I didn't know. You told everyone I was disrespecting her memory. I turned my screen around, showing him the trust account. She invested $50,000, her entire savings. That investment is now worth $40 million. Your children's inheritance, which you mocked as delivery boy fantasies. Mark's face went ash gray. Daniel, please. That's not why you're here. I pulled up the audit results. Explain this. As he looked at the numbers, whatever remaining color in his face drained away. I can fix this, he whispered. Just give me time. 300 people lost their jobs, Mark. Families lost their homes. All while you bragged at Thanksgiving dinners about your corporate success. I had to maintain appearances, he burst out. Everyone expected me to be successful. You don't understand the pressure. The pressure of pretending? I stood up. No, I wouldn't understand that. I was too busy actually succeeding. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Foster, the board is ready. We're done here. I gathered my papers. HR has your separation package. Your division is being restructured under new management. You're firing me? Your own uncle? I paused at the door. No, Mark. Your actions fired you. I'm just making it official. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. 20 of the most powerful executives in the industry, all eyes on me. Chin nodded from his seat. Before we begin, I said, taking my place at the head of the table, I want to discuss the human cost of corporate deception. I stood before the board, my uncle's audit results displayed on the massive screen behind me. The room was silent except for the soft hum of air conditioning and the occasional sharp intake of breath as executives processed the numbers. 300 families, I continued, my voice carrying across the polished mahogany table. 300 families lost their income because one manager chose to hide system failures instead of addressing them. Chen's face was thunderous. This is beyond inefficiency. This is criminal negligence. The Western Division's actual performance, I clicked to the next slide, has been masked by creative accounting for years. The $300 million loss from the tech contract last year? It wasn't market conditions. It was systemic failure, deliberately hidden. The CFO of Global Tech raised her hand. Mr. Foster, these numbers, if they're accurate. They're accurate. Sarah stepped forward, distributing detailed reports. We've tracked every falsified entry, every manipulated metric. The pattern goes back 7 years. Another executive spoke up. This is the division managed by your uncle, correct? Yes, I replied simply. Which is why I recused myself from the initial investigation. The findings were independently verified by 3 separate audit firms. The room erupted in murmurs. Family connections were one thing, but this level of corporate misconduct was another. There's more, Sarah announced, clicking to the next slide. The cover-up affected more than just Global Tech. Because of the division's central position in the supply chain, the ripple effects impacted dozens of smaller companies. We've identified at least 7 local businesses that went bankrupt due to the deliberately mismanaged distribution. I thought about those small business owners. People like I used to be, building something from nothing, only to have it destroyed because my uncle was too proud to admit his failures. What's your recommendation, Mr. Foster? Chin asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. Complete restructuring of the Western Division. Criminal investigation into the falsified records. And, I paused, a compensation fund for affected families. That could cost millions, someone protested. I'll personally fund it, I stated. Consider it a family obligation. The meeting continued for hours. By the time we emerged, the merger agreement was signed, the restructuring plan approved, and my uncle's career was effectively over. Outside the boardroom, Sarah squeezed my hand. "You okay?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Daniel, I'm at your office. Please. We need to talk." I looked at Sarah. "Did you know she was here?" Security called up. "She's been waiting since the meeting started. Along with Kate and..." Sarah checked her tablet. "Apparently half the extended family." I loosened my tie slightly. "Of course they are. Want me to get rid of them?" I thought about all the family gatherings where they'd dismissed me. All the times they'd made me feel small. But I also thought about Grandma Rose's words. Success without compassion is just another form of failure. No, I decided. It's time to clear the air. All of it. The elevator ride down to the lobby felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, I saw them. My mother, sister, and various relatives, all looking out of place among the marble columns and modern art of Quantum's headquarters. My mother stepped forward first, her eyes red from crying. "Daniel, the news, all these years. Perhaps we should talk somewhere private," I suggested, noting the curious glances from employees passing by. "Your uncle," Kate blurted out. "Is it true? What they're saying about the audit? You'll read about it in tomorrow's papers." I gestured toward the private elevator. "Shall we?" As we rode up to my office, I could feel their eyes taking in everything. My custom suit, the respectful nods from executives we passed, the sheer scale of what I'd built while they thought I was just delivering packages. The view from my office made them gasp. Chicago stretched out below us. A sea of buildings and streets where Quantum's trucks moved like blood through veins. "All this time," my mother whispered, when you thought I was failing?" I finished. "When you skipped my Harvard graduation because delivery school wasn't worth celebrating." She flinched. "We didn't know. You never asked." I sat behind my desk, the same desk where hours earlier I'd ended my uncle's career. "For 15 years, you never once asked what I was actually doing. You just assumed." "Your grandmother," my mother said suddenly, her voice trembling. "She knew, didn't she? That's why she left you the inheritance. Why she always defended you." I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a worn envelope, Grandma Rose's last letter to me, delivered after her death. I'd never shown it to anyone except Sarah. "She did more than know," I said, unfolding the letter. "She was my first investor. The only person who believed this wasn't just a delivery boy's fantasy." Kate stepped forward. "Daniel, about all those times Don't," I interrupted. "This isn't about apologies. It's about truth. All of it." I pressed a button on my desk and the wall-mounted screens came to life, displaying Quantum's global operations. Red dots pulsed across digital maps, showing real-time deliveries, transactions, and data flows. "Every 3 seconds," I explained, "our systems process more money than Mark made in a year. Every minute we move more packages than I delivered in my entire time as an actual delivery driver. And every hour, we generate more revenue than our entire family's combined net worth." My mother sank into a chair. "But why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me?" I stood, walking to the window. "When I tried to explain my software ideas, you said I was wasting time. When I worked through holidays to build this company, you said I was avoiding real work. When I made my first million, Mark told everyone I was lying about having a pretend company." "We were wrong," Kate whispered. "Yes, you were." I turned back to face them. But that's not why I stayed quiet. I kept silent because Grandma Rose taught me something valuable. True success doesn't need announcements. It speaks for itself. My phone buzzed, a message from Sarah. "Board approved the compensation fund. Press conference in an hour." "I have a press conference soon," I told my family. "We're announcing a fund to help the families hurt by Mark's actions." "How bad is it?" Kate asked. "What Mark did?" I pulled up the audit summary. As they read through it, their expressions shifted from confusion to horror. 300 families, my mother breathed. All those people lost everything because Mark was too proud to admit he was failing. I closed the file. "Pride seems to run in our family. What happens now?" Kate asked. "Now. I checked my watch. Now I have to go tell the world that while one foster destroyed families to maintain appearances, another foster will make it right. I paused. And then maybe we can talk about what family really means. And Mark. Mark made his choices. Just like I made mine 15 years ago when everyone told me I was throwing my life away on a delivery job. As if on cue, my office door opened and Sarah entered, tablet in hand. Daniel, they're ready for us downstairs. The compensation fund announcement. My family stared at her, finally recognizing my dispatcher fiancée for who she really was, Quantum CFO and one of the most powerful women in corporate America. Give me a minute, I told her. Sarah nodded, then addressed my family with a slight smile. You should watch the press conference. Might help you understand what your delivery boy has been up to all these years. After she left, my mother stood shakily. Daniel, I know we can't undo the past, but... No, I agreed, we can't. But we can learn from it. I gestured to the door. Shall we? I have some families to help rebuild what our family helped destroy. As we rode down to the press conference, I thought about Grandma Rose's words in her final letter. Success isn't about proving others wrong, Daniel. It's about proving yourself right. Looking at my family's shell-shocked faces, I realized they were finally beginning to understand that. The press conference footage played on every major network that evening. My face, once ignored at family gatherings, now filled screens across the nation as I announced the $100 million compensation fund for families affected by the global tech scandal. Success comes with responsibility, I told the cameras. When corporate misconduct hurts families, we have an obligation to make it right. No one missed the irony. The delivery boy was now saving families destroyed by his successful uncle's deception. 2 weeks later, I sat in my penthouse, reviewing the latest compensation claims when my doorman announced an unexpected visitor. My mother. She entered cautiously, clutching a familiar wooden box. I found this in the attic, she said softly. It's from your grandmother. The box was dusty but intact. Inside, I found stacks of papers. My original business plans, early quantum algorithms scribbled on napkins, and dozens of letters between Grandma Rose and various investors. She kept everything, my mother whispered. Every idea you shared, every plan you made. She believed in you when none of you did. I pulled out a yellowed envelope marked for Daniel's family, open when they finally see. Inside was a letter dated just days before her death. To my beloved but blind family. If you're reading this, you've finally discovered what I've known all along. That success doesn't always wear a suit and tie, and true vision doesn't need validation. Daniel came to me 15 years ago with more than a dream. He had a revolution in his hands, written in code and logistics algorithms that would change the world. While you mocked his delivery job, he was studying supply chain patterns. While you dismissed his computer games, he was building the future. I invested not just my savings but my faith in him. Today that investment has grown beyond money. It grew into proof that sometimes the greatest success stories are written in silence. To my children and grandchildren, your brother, your uncle, your cousin whom you dismissed? He wasn't delivering packages. He was building an empire. And he did it not to prove you wrong but to prove himself right. Learn from this. Success isn't measured by who shouts the loudest, but by who works the smartest. With love and hope for understanding, Rose. My mother's hands trembled as she finished reading. There's more, she said, pulling out a stack of stock certificates. She left shares for everyone in the family. We never knew. Because no one checked, I finished. The same way no one checked what I was really building all these years. Sarah joined us carrying more files. The compensation fund is fully operational. We've already helped 50 families restart their businesses. My mother looked at Sarah with new eyes, finally seeing her as more than just a dispatcher. You too. You built all this together? Sarah was my first hire, I explained. Harvard Business School graduate who believed in the crazy idea that a delivery driver could revolutionize global logistics. She saw what our family couldn't or wouldn't see. The wedding, my mother started hesitantly. Will you still? Yes, Sarah answered. But not at the country club Mark suggested. We're having it at the community center we built for the families affected by the scandal. Success isn't just about making money, it's about making a difference. Just then my phone buzzed. A message from one of the families we'd helped. Their small business was reopening tomorrow, stronger than before. That's what real success looks like, I told my mother, showing her the message. Not the fancy cars or office towers. It's about building something that matters. As if to punctuate my point, a quantum truck passed by the window below, carrying not just packages but possibilities. Just like I used to do before I built an empire that proved success doesn't need announcements. It just needs belief. Your grandmother, my mother said quietly, she would be so proud. No, I corrected gently. She was already proud. She just waited for everyone else to catch up. And in that moment, surrounded by the proof of 15 years of silent success, I realized Grandma Rose had been right all along. True achievement doesn't need validation from others. It simply needs the courage to believe in yourself when no one else will.